You know, I just noticed, because I just kind of do this random before the show starts. I'm having a YouTuber on tonight who is suing YouTube, and the show is streaming tonight on YouTube. That's going to play well with the YouTube algorithms and the people there. God, strike three, you're out, Shadow Davis. I wonder how long this show is going to last on YouTube tonight. 15 seconds? Maybe it's off the air already. Don't worry about it, because we're also broadcasting as usual on Facebook, on X, on Rumble. Where else are we? We're on Twitch, we're on Telegram, and of course, shadowdavis.com. Eloise Boies. Elo Wants to Know. That's the name of her show on YouTube. She started an English language version of it. She lives in Quebec, and she's been doing a French language version of that show for the last 3 years or so, and was downgraded, censored, had shows just taken right off the air for asking pertinent questions and mentioning things that are absolutely verifiably true. But I've got a lot of questions to ask her about how she's going to be able to prove this. She is suing YouTube/Google, one of the largest companies in the world. And that takes a lot of courage. She is coming on the show in just a couple of seconds. The Shadow at Night live stream is brought to you by Canada Nano Silver, CanadaNanoSilver.ca, proud sponsor of the Stronger Together weekend in Beausejour. That's June 21st, 22nd, 23rd, hosted by Ken and Rosalie Drysdale. And from each sale, from now until those dates, $2 going to the cost of Ken and Rosalie to put this event on. People coming from all across the country. It's going to be a fantastic event. The silver lozenges come in Manuka honey. They come in vitamin C. What else do they come in here? There's a couple of honey flavors, just regular honey and zinc. These lozenges soothe and cool your throat while supporting your immune system. Safe and effective alternative to products made with chemicals. Made with cooling organic mint and soothing organic honey. Made with natural and organic ingredients. Gluten-free, soy-free, nut-free. Does not contain preservatives, dyes, or artificial flavors. And, of course, the power of silver salt technology. Check them out for yourself at CanadaNanoSilver.ca. You can find retail locations scattered all across the country on the Retail Locations tab. And if you would like to become a retailer of these awesome products yourself, get a hold of Kevin and Anna through the Contact tab at CanadaNanoSilver.ca. That, again, is CanadaNanoSilver.ca. Quickly, some hellos tonight. Who's here watching on Facebook, X, YouTube, ShadowDavis.com? Kathy is watching in Chatham. Hello, Brenda, watching in Long Sault, Ontario. Cheryl is watching from Alberta. Hello, Kirk, watching in Fox Warren, Manitoba. Sally is watching in Quebec tonight. Hello, Wayne, watching on X. Wayne and Patty are watching from Norwich. Lolita, Dawn is in Winnipeg. Christine's in Enola. Barb is in Stony Mountain. Barbara is in Glenora. Eddie is watching in Stonewall. Hello, Tracy in Gilbert, Arizona. Dawn is watching in Winnipeg. Linda's watching in Medicine Hat. Laura's watching in Sherwood Park, Alberta. Gerald, how's she hanging? A little bit to the left, actually. Bren, hello in Cambridge. Heather. Heather just says, YouTube now, unbelievable. Actually, it's been like that for quite some time. Carol is watching in Thunder Bay, Ontario tonight. Don't forget, guys, if you're watching on Facebook or X, it's a like and a share, a repost and a heart. Thank you very much. Let's get this out to as many people as we possibly can. On Rumble, Nuts is watching in Selkirk. Hello, Lexus, Saskatchewan, Manitoba border. Yes, the carbon tax protests are ongoing. What's up, Canada? Wayne is watching tonight. We got to get you on the show very soon, Wayne. It's been too long. Hello, Winston Smith in Winnipeg. Lexus 400. Adela, David, Starliner 1961 is watching. Deborah F. is watching from Rivers, Manitoba. Woot, woot, woot. She or he says, I don't know what sex you are. I know there's only two. I don't know what sex you are, guys, from some of these names. But anyway, thank you for being here on Rumble. Don't forget to thumb it up. And if you want to share it, hit the share button beneath the screen. That'll highlight the URL above the screen. From there, you can go ahead and copy and paste into your favorite destination, whether it's a group, whether it's other social media, just email. Just pop it in there. Elo, hello. How are you doing? Thank you for coming on tonight. We appreciate you taking the time to be here. You know what? I watched part of your interview with Viva Fry this afternoon, and I thought, wow, this girl is so cool and brave. So
thank you for having me.
I mean, like you're just, you know what? You just came off as so meh Well, it's not really a big deal. I think the biggest deal in your life is your two babies right now, from what I was able to glean on that interview, right?
That is correct. Yeah, and they are my priority as well.
Eloise Bois is our guest tonight. She is a YouTuber, still doing YouTube. You're still on YouTube, right,
Yeah, I don't like to be
Eloise?
called YouTuber, I guess, because I'm suing them. But yeah, I am still there.
That
I just
makes
don't know.
sense.
I don't know why I'm on YouTube because I'm so shadow banned now that it's sort of a waste of time. But as I was explaining to Viva Fry yesterday, I'm trying to reach as many people as possible. So I feel, the majority of people is on YouTube. So I still post my videos there, but this is not where my main focus is. That's for sure.
Where are you now, by the way? Are you scattered all across the socials?
Yeah, not as much as you, but I am on X. I am on Facebook. This is where my main fan base is. So I stay there, even though I'm not a big fan of Mark Zuckerberg. And I'm also developing right now my eloversavoir.com. This is coming up. And I am on Rumble, Odyssey, and all those platforms as well.
And the show is called Elo Wants to Know, correct?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I started my English channel in I think in January this year, because I had English interviews, and I'm aware that most people who speak English don't really like to have the French subtitles. So I just decided to do two separate channels. So my channels, the French one is called Elo veut savoir, so the exact translation is Elo wants to know, and that English channel is only on YouTube and X. And I've already been censored on YouTube with my last video. So, I'm just, I'm desperate. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I feel the same way. You know, it's interesting. I had this happen to me last June. They had been warning me for a while that some of my content was posing a risk to the Facebook community, right? And then I posted a cartoon, and the cartoon was people jumping off a bridge, and it was to illustrate how many people out there just mindlessly follow whatever they hear on left wing corporate media. And they said it was a threat to mental health, and that I got banned from Facebook for 30 days.
Wow,
And
that's a lot.
ever since then, it's been a struggle. Like my followers will go up and they'll come back down. And I noticed that many shows don't get the viewers that they used to. But I
Yeah,
knew that was coming. So that's why I branched out into all of the different social media platforms like you're doing now.
exactly.
Um, what kinds of things were you discussing on your YouTube channel that
Um,
got you banned?
Well, when I initially started my channel, I it was not about the so-called pandemic. It was about my background is music business and show business, so I was more exposing Satanism in Hollywood. So that was my first video, and my second one was pedophilia in Hollywood. So these were my two main videos, and they got extremely viral right off. With my I was just starting, and it was a good beginning for me. And then my third video started being more towards the pandemic. So it was called Desinformation Médiatique, which is like disinformation in the mainstream media. And I was sort of explaining how we were being misled to believe certain narratives, and how they were using specific techniques to mass control us, and et cetera, et cetera. And this is how I started being, triggering a lot of the algorithms. And I had this specific video that was called censorship, because I realized, talking to people, that most people were not aware that the censorship was brutal during the pandemic. And I thought this was important that people knew, even though most people were, just following the rules and the mandates because they didn't know what was going on. I thought most people would be alarmed to know that very important information was just not in the mainstream media. So I did this video called censorship, and it was online, and it got viral. And then after 2 or 3 months, I think it got taken off, just completely deleted by YouTube, saying it did not respect the community guidelines. That's my favorite. We never really know what guidelines it crossed, but and that's how they censored my video about censorship.
Did they warn you first, or did they just take the thing down?
They just did right away take it down.
Did they notify you of it, or did you have to go and check for yourself?
No, I got an email saying that, it was deleted and I could appeal. I think that's what they call it. So I appealed, and like 5 minutes later, their team had reviewed my request and it had been declined. So I was like, yeah, 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 whatever. So, and that's how my lawyer actually contacted me. So that's sort of how it started.
So how are you noticing this shadow banning? And for a lot of people, there's a lot of people, a lot of new people who are coming to this show and hopefully to your show because they know there's something wrong. Eloise, they know there's something wrong, right? They just can't put their finger on it. So they're getting pointed to shows like ours by people who have been here with us for a while. And they're saying, look, all of this crazy stuff has been happening, like censorship, for example. That's a big thing. And censorship is diabolical because you don't know if you're just one of these people wandering around going, there's something wrong, but I don't know what it is. You don't know the person is actually there screaming from the rooftops that because they've been censored, right? And the only people that would notice that are the people who are censored or the people who watched them before they got censored. So that's one of those things. And that's how they've been able to keep the lid on all of this stuff for so long. So how did you notice that you were being shadow banned? Because that's another diabolical one. Did it just, your views started dropping suddenly?
Um, Well, I had a very good start. I started my I was Twitter back then, and my YouTube channel in 2020. I think it was June 2020. And I had my baby in July. So I had a month to sort of start my channel. We were stuck at home. I was pregnant, was not allowed to go out because, word was going crazy. So I thought I had time to do that. And then thank God, a lot of people who were already big in Quebec, like Alexis Cossette Trudel, who is like very famous, like is a very famous conspiracy theorist. He retweeted me, and Idriss Aberkan, who's also very very big in France, he retweeted me a lot. So I started big. Like every day when I woke up, I had like 200, 300 new followers on Twitter or on YouTube. I think on YouTube, I had thousands of new followers the first month. And this never happened ever again. I was like done. Like this kind of growth, it was, I think, given to me because I was new. I was a white page and they had nothing against me. But the moment that they started having more information, like the first thing I noticed, and that's a good question you're asking me because it's 4 years ago, but I remember, as I said, it was about Satanism in Hollywood. And I remember researching in the search engine of YouTube, and this video has 100,000 views, but it would not show, like you would type "Il veut savoir Satanism," and it didn't exist in the search engine. But if you put it on Google, then it would come out. So that meant that people, in order for them to see it, they had to have already the link.
Right. Because it wouldn't come up for them unless they knew what the link was. Yeah, that's how they manipulate too, you guys. I mean, that's how they do it in searches on Google. If you're still using Google to search things, they can hide stuff.
Oh
They
yeah.
can hide the Satanism in Hollywood. What did you discover, by the way? Because you've had some great guests on. I mean, guys, if you're not following, Ella wants to know on YouTube. I went and had a look, and she's had Oliver Stone on. She's had Naomi
Rhyming
Wolf
frog.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's some great guests. So congratulations on that. What did you talk to Oliver Stone about Satanism in Hollywood?
No, um, it was not the purpose of my travel, and he invited me as his house. So we knew we would talk about JFK and his new documentary that is called Nuclear Now. Um, so no, I didn't talk about that. But as I said, my background is music, and I've been researching this for a while, like over a decade now. So this is, I would say, the topic I'm the most familiar with. I've not that I've seen firsthand a lot of terrible things, but my career is my not career is a result of, the hashtag Me Too, and I was very aware of that, sexual abuse going on in Hollywood with the producers, or not even Hollywood, but just, the music entertainment and the show business in general.
Yeah, you spent time in the United States trying to make it as a singer, and you saw a lot of that happening uh, behind
I
closed doors, right?
I did. It was not exactly in the States that I saw the worst. It was in Montreal where I lived. Like, I had very bad experiences here with American producers and also very famous French producers and Quebecois producers, pretty much all of them. Between 17 and 25, this was just like on and on and on. And until I just realized that I was not going to make it. I really wanted to stay authentic and keep my integrity. That's just very, very important to me. And I was like, well, I guess this is just not possible to make it in the pop business if you're not pushing their agenda. And that's how I started realizing that it was not random that all the pop stars are extremely sexualized. That's exactly what they want. You know, I was at that
Demonic too. I
moment.
mean, have you seen the demonic like flavor of a lot of the live shows and a lot of the costuming in the last couple of years? It seems to have gotten a lot more evil looking.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
like it's overtly evil and demonic. That's just not subtle. And I'm not coming from a religious background when I expose these things. I'm very pragmatic about it, very factual, and that's probably why people like my approach. I'm not saying that there's no religious dimension to it, but it's just not my approach. So I really feel like in the past 4 5 years, the demonic agenda has been very, very obvious, and that's a good thing because more and more people are waking up. So I guess, it's hard to be part of this, but it's also we have to focus on positive stuff, and people are waking up.
Did you make this your mission to get the truth out there? Was this something that kind of grabbed you and said, you know what, I really have to do this? It just felt right to you?
Yeah, I believe so. Like, I'm sure I don't know you personally and I just discovered you, but I know that, we're all in it together. Like, that's what we're doing. We're doing it not because I find it funny when my trolls come and say that I do this just to get rich. I'm like, the hell, dude, I'm not making any money out of it. Like, I'm just like really doing this because I have kids. Even if I didn't have kids, I would do it because, as I said, like, I've been researching this for over a decade, and I think it's important to expose it and to make it accessible. So to find a way to put it out there so people are not going just to be, yeah, completely shut down and closed minded, because it's hard to take in. Like, there's so much to find out. I'm sure you've been researching these things for a while now, but when it's your first time being exposed to these truths, there's so much that it's easier just to say it's impossible and just to push it away. And so I try to find a way to make it digestible, accessible to the majority, and I think I'm doing not too bad, like, to be honest. Like, so I'm happy, and that's why I'm trying also to do it in English, um, because I understand that a lot of people are, uh, of course, in French, it was my main focus for the 4 past years. The problem in Quebec is that a lot of people are not bilingual, and it was really hard to have access to different information. To In English, you have Joe Rogan, you have Lex Fridman, you have Tucker Carlson, and you have you and Viva Frey. In Canada, we have very good content that's a good alternative. In French, in Quebec, no, we're only 8 million. If you talk, you're going to lose your job. So people are just scared to talk, and that's why I thought, my husband is director of photography and he's a director, and we had gear at home, we had good mics, we had good cameras. So we thought, it's not going to be so expensive for me just to try to start doing something that looks professional. And that's how I got started. And yes, it became really important to me, like, as you just asked me. This is extremely important to me, and it's hard sometimes not to get too emotional about it because it's frustrating to see that people are just not ready to take the truth. But and that's me trying to find my balance. Sometimes I get really frustrated and I answer my trolls, and I shouldn't do that. But some days I'm able not to and just focus on positive stuff. So we're just trying to find our balance in a world that is completely upside down.
It is interesting dealing with all that stuff, and it's a daily basis too, and they can come to you from anywhere, really. So it's just a matter of, I talked to Theo Fleury about this about a year
Oh,
ago. I said, dude,
cool.
you know, well, he's with Canadians for Truth, and so we've become friends over the past couple of years. And I said, you're a hockey player. You were one of the star players on the team, and when you went to a different rink, you were the one that the crowd would boo. How did you deal with that? He goes, I just didn't even hear it. It just didn't even occur to me that they were doing it. He said it took him a while to grow that thick skin, right? But he had had that ever since he was a junior player. So for him,
Wow.
it was a little bit easier. And so when he hears it today, it's not nearly as difficult for him as it is for somebody who's just starting this. You said you started researching this about 10 years ago, but you didn't tell us exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Eloise, there's so many moving parts to this thing that we're all going through right now. Can you give us a brief description of your opinion on it?
Yeah, sure. I'm right now in a chalet because I am finishing my book that I started 10 years ago. Well, 10 years ago, I started the research, and then I wrote it in 2018, and then I had babies. And so that's why, but more than ever, I think that this book is important. And so basically, it is me asking myself what would have been my life, and if I said yes every time I said no, every time I decided to draw a line and respect myself. What if being famous had been more important than anything else? And like it seemed to be the case for a lot of artists that are extremely popular right now. So I started just, exploring this, and this led me to discover the very, very dark side of Hollywood. And when I say Hollywood, I just mean, the industry of entertainment in general. And then I realized that there was a sort of a cancer, a cult behind it. And this cult is the purpose of this cult is to make people oblivious of what's actually going on, what the elite is doing. And it is a satanic cult. Like, I wish this was not true. I'm aware for a lot of people this is just impossible to believe, but I had the honor to talk with satanic ritual abuse survivors. I'm going to have one on my show in 1 month. And, when you talk to those people and you hear their stories, it's just impossible to be in denial anymore. And you can't be um, just standing there and do nothing. Like, you have to put the truth out there.
Can you give us some examples of the things that happen in situations? I mean, we've heard guys like Corey Feldman coming out for years, and there's other, Hollywood stars who it looks like if you just look at some video of them, like Randy Quaid, just got completely crazy, right? Like they drive off into the mountains. The guy's got a beard about 3 feet long on his face. They're coming to get me. And then other people have just kind of died randomly
Oh,
somehow. Maybe it's because they discovered something they didn't want to see.
well, this is where it becomes conspiracy theories. But if, you would stick to facts, Kanye West said that the media was controlling us, that the media was lying to us. Jay-Z is lying to you, and, all those things. And then they tried to make him look completely crazy. And I think he's mentally unstable, but it doesn't mean that everything he says is crazy. Crazy doesn't mean anything, it's just not, it's nothing. It's just to say, oh, I'm going to dismiss that person, that person's crazy. But Kanye West said that his mother was sacrificed. He used the word sacrifice. It's just not a random world. You don't say that in your everyday life. And yes, his mother passed away in very strange circumstances. And, I'm just thinking about Kanye West, but I just did this video about Justin Bieber exposing what he's been through. there's a lot of videos when he's a minor where people are just extremely sexual with him. And it's just, now you look at it and you're like, how could we look at it? Because it was public. These videos have been online for 10 years, 12 years, and no one did nothing. So now I realize that people are switching, like the consciousness is changing, and people are more and more aware. Like this, I don't know if you've watched the series about Nickelodeon, Quiet on Set, that was just released in March. I highly suggest to people to go and watch it. It's about Dan Schneider, who's a producer, and they talk about Amanda Bynes, Ariana Grande, those kids that have been exposed to a lot of sexual stuff and asked to do sexual stuff on TV, and those shows were aimed at kids. So it's like, why are you hypersexualizing children all the time? And these questions are just legitimate. We have to ask those questions. So, what does that mean? Who's behind that? Who are the moguls behind that who are pushing this agenda over and over and over? So, our children are being exposed to sexuality at 3 years, 4 years. Why are there drag queens in daycares? All these questions. There is an agenda behind that, and people need to connect the dots because it's all sort of a pedophilic agenda. Because we are ruled by an elite that seems to believe that kids need to be exploited. I don't know exactly what it is, and I wish I was wrong, but I don't think I am.
You tell Viva a story the other day about losing your daycare for one of your kids.
Yeah, that was so.
What happened there?
Yeah. So in 2022, when the Freedom Convoy happened, I knew that the mainstream media would make it look at as everybody was terrorists there. So I decided to go and try to cover it as many days as possible with having, a baby. So I went there, I think 7 days out of the 23 that the truckers were there. And like a lot of people, because my content is in French, a lot of people in Europe got really interested in my videos, so they started being very viral in the French speaking world. So Belgium, Switzerland, France, and of course Quebec a lot. So sometimes I had 200,000 views on my videos, and at the same time I released a talk show where I was receiving a scientist that would have a different perspective than the mainstream media so-called experts. And this show got also, of course, censored, but also very, very popular because people were just sharing and sharing and sharing. So this was like a climax where I was sort of everywhere in January. And a few days later, I received a phone call from my daycare saying that she no longer wanted my daughter there. And when my husband asked why, she said she didn't like me, and we had never had any issues together. So he said, can we talk about this? Can we, can we use it as a warning, but could we try to find a solution? And she was very, very firm. It was over. She didn't want me nearby. And then it was sort of obvious to us that, someone, probably another parent, had complained that I was a conspiracy theorist, probably unvaxxed and all these things.
Wow. That's so. What did you do? Did
Well,
you find
it's
another daycare?
nearly impossible to find a daycare. I don't know what's the situation in. Where are you exactly, Alberta? No.
Manitoba. I'm in Manitoba, but I mean, Justin Trudeau's got his $10 a day daycare out there. It should be easy, shouldn't it?
Well, no, it's not. Big surprise. So no, it's not. So my husband had to. We're both freelancers, so he had to sort of refuse some contracts in order to let, because I was also starting a media that at that moment called Libre Media. I had a little bit too much on my shoulders, to be honest. But I felt like we needed to do something, and I was doing my best to make a difference. So my husband just started being a dad at home for a few months until we found another daycare that was absolutely terrible. And thank God it didn't last too long. And when I moved to where I lived, I noticed that my neighbor just across the street had a daycare. So I went with brownies. I smiled and I said, can we put our name on the
Please.
list? And we had 2 years to wait. So, at that moment when I lost my daycare, we had like 8 months to wait. But I knew I had this place coming up, and now, since almost 2 years now, we have been with her, and it's just amazing to have a daycare just across the street. But it's been a nightmare for a few months, that's for sure.
No, I've only got you for a few more minutes because you're on a timeline tonight. I could go on like this for a couple of hours. Maybe we'll
And I
do
speak
another
a
night.
lot. I'm aware that I talk a lot.
No, that's good. I mean, that's the reason you're here. I want to hear your story. So the lawsuit that you are launching against Google, we're aware that Google is one of the biggest companies in the world. They are worth billions and billions of dollars. Do you have enough evidence to be able to prove your case? And is the case actually going forward now? And how
Well,
did this lawyer discover you? Because you'd kind of gotten into that before I rudely interrupted you before.
no, that was we just digressed too. But it's okay. You guys don't know me, so I'm glad I can give a bit of my background. But yeah, so what happened is that William, he's kind of a black sheep, I guess. He already had tried to sue the government for I think the vaccine passport, or maybe that was a curfew, and he brought
It was the curfew. I remember this. What's his last name?
Desrochers.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've heard of his name before.
Yeah,
It was
so
definitely the curfew. I can't even believe you guys had curfews in Quebec. That's ridiculous. Anyway,
me
please continue.
neither. But this happened 2 years in a row, my friend. This is how crazy it got
Amazing.
here in Quebec. And people
Yeah.
were okay with it. I just can't believe what
Were they
happened.
actually keeping people out of Walmarts and grocery stores as well, unless they had a vaccine passport?
Yeah, was it only here? It was not like that in Manitoba?
No, we didn't have that. The rest of the country, you were never, that I'm aware of anyway, you were never held out of a grocery store or a Walmart.
Well,
Restaurants, yeah.
a grocery store would be, I assume, a fake news. I think this happened here and there, but not really sure this really was a thing. But the Walmart thing was basically we were not allowed to go in a Walmart if we were unvaccinated unless we had someone with us, like a random dude whose job was just to walk us to make sure we were just going to the pharmacy, because that place we were allowed to go. So if my pharmacy just happens to be in a Walmart, I was allowed with a dude that's just completely insane to go. And that was just
Dude.
not about virus spreading anymore. It was just to make us look miserable and bad people in the world. And this sometimes I feel like we need to remember, because it was so out there that people are just, oh yeah, I can't believe we did that. We did, my friend, and this could happen again. So please remember. And yes, William contacted me. It was the summer of 2021. So I had only one video taken down at that moment. This was about censorship. And he said to me at that moment, he already had his experience with one curfew, I think. And he said, the freedom of speech is one of the most important freedom in a democracy, and right now they are stepping on this freedom. And he said, I believe that this battlefield could be won, even though, like, because we've seen now more than ever, we're in 2024, and now we've seen that even though everything they were doing was illegal, they sort of got away with it because it was extraordinary times, so extraordinary measures were justified. But regarding the freedom of speech, his opinion was that we had a chance to win. So he said, I need a good case. I need someone who's professional, who's not too crazy. So that's why he
Well
decided.
spoken as well, right? You got to be able to present yourself and you got to be able to make your case. And I think that you'd be pretty good at that, right?
Exactly. That's why he came to me, and I'm very grateful, because it would not have crossed my mind to contact him, because I have absolutely zero faith in the justice system. But he said, I'm going to put a file together and we're going to move forward. It could take 10 years. He briefed me that this was very long. Class action lawsuits are very, very long. So I said, sign me in, let's do this. And in the before we were even done putting the case together, I got more videos that got censored, so we added them to the file. This took forever because Google was just trying to gain time and stop us from. Obviously they don't want the class action because that represents a lot of money. We're asking, if my memory is good, it's $1,000 for a content creator and $500 for those who just couldn't access the information. That means everyone in Quebec. And yes, one important note is that we are talking here only in Quebec because we're invoking the Quebec Charter that is supposedly better than the Canadian Charter because it also protects us from private corporations, not only governments.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if there's a section 1 in the Quebec Charter as well, because we've got that section 1. That means that they can just wipe out the rest of the charter if there's some kind of a due emergency in a free and just society. That's how I'm paraphrasing it. But like any government could say, well, we got an emergency, so the rest of the charter is completely and totally gone now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, that's what
That's
happened
it.
for the last 4 years. We just realized that laws are not really there to protect us. They're just an illusion, just like democracy is as well. I'm
Hey, where
cynical.
can we find you? And you know what? It's just the last 4 years have opened up your eyes. I don't think you're that cynical. I think you're a realist. People say to me the same thing. Oh, how come you're so dour? I'm not dour. I'm just looking at things through actual, my real vision now, as opposed to the way we used to look at things. I mean,
Yeah.
how do we look at things before? Never mind. You're just a conspiracy theorist. It's no big deal. It's like we have been unplugged from the matrix. That's it. And once
That's
you see it, you
exactly.
can't unsee it, right? You can't
Exactly.
just go back.
I guess ignorance is bliss for those who are still sleeping.
Let me ask you this, because this is a question I ask almost every guest I have on this show, Eloise. When was your moment? And I know that you've been researching the Hollywood thing for the last 10 years and the entertainment thing. But
Well, my
when all of this went down, I mean, you must have had a moment where you went, oh, this is all the same thing.
I thought when the COVID-19 started, I thought this is the moment we've been waiting for. Like I sort of knew, even though I hated it, and I remember thinking, finally, I don't want it. Like I knew this would come at some point because it was pretty obvious for anyone who was sort of awake, unplugged from the matrix, that this was going to happen. But the moment you're in it, it's just very scary. And I never bought into the official narrative. Never. I just saw that they were using fear to control people, and I was mad that people were buying it. Like I was just really mad. I remember getting mad at my parents, saying, what is wrong with you? Don't you see that this is just wrong the way they are handling this? And thank God my parents, it took maybe 1 week and they were completely on my side. And my family, my parents, my husband's family, my friends, everybody is awake. So this is why I guess I don't have like a good idea of what's really going on in the world, because everyone around me is just awake. I don't like to
No,
use the
you've got
word
a very good idea. You've got a very good idea what's going on in the world. It's everybody else that doesn't. So I'm happy
yeah.
that you've been able to wake all these people up,
But to
right?
answer your question, my moment was in 2020, 2012. Yes, that's when, I don't know if you remember, we had what we call the Printemps Érable. So that was this sort of revolution where people were asking for gratuity at school. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly. This was like, there was a lot of riots. People were in the streets, and it just lasted very, very long during the whole spring and even through the summer. And the government obviously didn't do anything to help. They just made it worse and worse. And I remember being in a strike, I guess that's how we call it, outside. And we were so many people, like probably 200, 250, or maybe 300,000. And when I read the newspaper, the most read newspaper here is Le Journal de Montréal, and it said we were 15,000. And then when I read La Presse, which is a little better than the Journal de Montréal. It said 50,000, and the only newspaper that was giving a decent evaluation was Le Devoir, that no one really reads, that said 300,000 people. But then I was like, wait, 15,000 to 300,000, where's the truth? And then this is how I started realizing that mainstream media was extremely, first of all, lying to us and just controlling the narrative. So if it is in the mainstream media, it exists. If it's not there, it doesn't exist. And that was sort of the reality for a lot of people. So I started realizing that we needed to be very careful with the information, with how we get informed, and we need to vary our sources, and be just apply more critical thinking. And that's how I started doing my research. Now doing your research is something really bad. And as you said, once you start being aware and opening your eyes, it just keeps going, and then you can't go back to sleep.
So I want to ask you like one more thing, and I'm sorry to keep you a little
No,
longer
it's
than I
okay.
should, but
It's okay. No
it,
worries.
it,
I'm
I,
talking a lot.
I'm, no, no, I'm really enjoying this. So, out here I'm in Manitoba, and Manitoba has been one of the most passive provinces regarding everything. I think it had a
Really?
90%, yeah, it's crazy. A 90% vaccination rate. People were compliant. I've got a ticket that I'm never going to pay for $1,200 or $1,300 for
Wow.
hugging somebody outside without a mask on. I mean, it was
Wait, you
just
got
one
a
of
ticket
those
for
places.
that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They
For
said I was
hugging
breaching
someone?
the.
You got a ticket for hugging someone? Are you serious?
Well, I wasn't wearing a mask, Eloise. I mean,
How
that's
criminal
true.
of
That's
you.
I know. And you want to know what they were doing? It was at a large rally at the legislative building, and there was about 1,000 people there. And so I was just walking through the crowd, and people are, "Hey, Shadow!" So I'd give them a hug, and they had Manitoba um, Secret Service kind of officers there, Manitoba Justice. They were in plain clothes taking pictures
Oh
and
my
then
gosh.
mailing out these tickets later on.
This is
Seriously.
insane. This is
So I
almost
thought
more
to myself,
insane than a curfew.
I know. So listen to this one. We're thinking, all right, which provinces are going to stand up? Now, this show, I'm happy to say, it goes. I've got people watching from all over the country, right? I've got a lot of people watching from Quebec,
Mhm.
English speaking, obviously, because it's an English show. And I thought, which of the provinces are going to stand up the most? You're trying to think about who it's going to be. And I thought for sure Alberta, because Alberta is a very freedom minded place. I've lived in Alberta in the past, and I understand the mentality of the people there. And then I also thought we've got a secret weapon. It's Quebec, right? Because Quebec, the people there are a little bit more fiery. They're a little bit more passionate, hot blooded. I've spent time in Quebec. I understand, think anyway, understand the people of Quebec. And once they wake up, man, that's going to be it. I've seen riots happening there over freaking hockey games. So, I mean, Quebec. And so far, not really.
No, I don't know what happened with my province, and it was a huge disappointment. When in 2017, me and my husband, we moved to Vancouver because we needed some fresh air, and we were sick and tired of the show business here. It's a very small community, and we needed some fresh air. We left. And we realized that we missed Quebec so much because we missed the culture. We missed not only the French language, but it's also the fact that we speak French, but we're surrounded by English speaking people, forces us to be more unite. That's what I thought. um, and we're rebellious. That's we wanted to be our own country. We had that in us. And as I said, I lived in different places in Canada. I love Canada. I think it's an amazing country, but I used to be a separatist. I used to, not anymore. Not anymore. I think this is all part of an illusion. But and then I saw how Quebec got easily manipulated during the pandemic, and I honestly think, and I'm gonna sound like a conspiracy theorist right now, but it felt like Quebec was sort of an experiment where we were the ones who were supposed to be the rebellious in the country, and this is where they used the most mass control on us. to really make us bend the knee. And we did. You're talking about 90% vaccination. I think that's pretty much the same rate that we have here. And, still people were unhappy with that 10% who was still not bending the knees. And I was like, can we just let them breathe a little bit? Like, honestly, at 90%, why aren't you happy? But it was not about virus spreading. It was about compliance. And and this is where it became very obvious to me that we lost track. This was not about health. If it was really about health, we would have been allowed to go out, to take some walks in the woods, to hug our parents. We all know that we're social beings, and this is also part of our health, to have a social life. So at this point, I was like aware that Quebec was just being broken, and I feel very, very sad about it, because Quebec is just not what it used to be.
Yeah, it just blew me away. And so now I think, all right, well, I guess it's Alberta because BC is just another manipulated province. Saskatchewan maybe a little bit awake. Ontario, parts of it. I know
Uh-huh.
the Niagara region, especially in some parts of Ottawa, are standing up against it. Quebec is a mystery to me still. And I know there's certain areas of the Maritimes in Newfoundland that are actually there are people coming together. I'm going to have a guy on Thursday night to talk more about this. But there are certain parts of the country coming together, or the Maritimes coming together, forming pods. And these people are storing things for long term survival, just in case. And they're not telling anybody else about it, right? Because if they tell anybody about it, some of these normies out there, they're going to try and storm all of the products these folks have been saving up for the past 3 years, believe it or not. So they're all
That's
survivalists.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Eloise, it's been a pleasure having you on tonight. Where can we find you on social media? I want people to see that interview you did with Oliver Stone and the one with Naomi Wolf, too.
Yeah, yeah, Naomi has been pretty rough on me, so that was it,
Really?
oh
Okay,
yeah,
that's
she was
interesting.
rude. She was rude. But it was a debate, so if people
what,
enjoy
do you, what do
debate,
you mean she was? What were you debating?
she was she openly said she was rude to me, but she kept going, and I was like, come on, girl, you don't know me. She didn't even know where I lived when we started the interview, so I thought she was being pretty rough. But she thought that politics was the only way out of this crisis, and I don't believe in politics. So that's sort of how we got in a fight, and she was like very, very confident that she was right, and she needed to convince me. So that was not this type of argument. It's never very respectful, because you want to convince the other one. So I was like, come on, girl. But this is a very interesting conversation. So Naomi Wolf, it's so my channel in English called Elo Wants to Know. So ELO Wants to Know. And this interview is on YouTube. The most recent video I did, as I said earlier, about Satanism in Hollywood was censored on YouTube, but it is available on X. So it's also Elo Wants to Know on X. So these are the two places people can find me in English. And in French, Facebook, X, YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble.
I like the way you said that. YouTube. I have one more question for you because just listening to you talk about your debate with Naomi Wolf makes me ask, what is our way out of this, in your opinion?
What you're doing is our way out of this. Like what I'm doing, I think, is partly. Of course, I'm not saying that I'm the way out, but what I mean is that we need more and more people who are ready to speak out, more and more people who are ready in our family dinner to say, I disagree with this government. To say, you know what, mom, I didn't take the jab. We need more and more people who are saying there are two sexes only, even if this means I'm going to lose my job. We need more and more people who are brave enough, who have the courage to speak out against tyranny, because that's what we're going through right now. We have to be honest. These are not like just words that I'm throwing around. And I have babies, and I don't want them to live in a world where we're not allowed to say that only a mother with a vagina can give birth to a baby. That's just not gonna happen. And I think that everybody has a power, as a yeah, has the power to make a difference. everybody can make a difference by speaking out. People need to, at this point, it's illegal to shut down, to shut up and not say anything. So yeah, speak truth. We need to open up. We need to be brave. I know it's hard. And sometimes I have this conversation with my husband, and he's like, it's easy for you. You have your follow base, and it's different for me at work. Everybody believes everybody's woke. And I'm like, yeah, of course you don't preach to people who are completely like that, blind and shut down. You need to choose the right moment to speak. But if you find that there's this small door that's open, I think at this point it is important that you open the door. That's
Excellent.
that's how I think
Thank
that's how
you,
we're going to go
Eloise.
out.
I think it's fantastic. Thank you for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it. Would love to have you back on at some point soon.
That would be my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate. And I just to finish, I really want to say thank you to the Canadian Independent. That's been the first to talk about this story. I've been trying to talk about the fact that our class action lawsuit got approved and authorized just a few weeks ago. It's actually pretty recent, which means we're in it for at least 6 to 7 years. But not a lot of people were talking about it, and I really appreciate that you are, because I think this gives hope. I think the only fact that a judge in the system, in the justice system, accepted, the only judgment that he gave was pretty smart and reasonable. So this gives hope, and at this point we need hope to keep fighting. So we need to spread the good news when they happen. So thanks for having me.
Anytime. Any little victory we get is a good one. It can build momentum. Thank you. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye. Thanks to
Good
everyone.
night.
Good
All right. Eloise Boies, Elo wants to know. You can find her on social media. And I'm right after the show is over tonight, you guys. I'm going to go and watch that Naomi Wolf interview. I was thinking maybe the Oliver Stone one first. She and I have been talking the last few days about these interviews and how she got them, and she gave me a couple of pointers and I gave her a couple of pointers, and so we're gonna share some ideas and hopefully get some even better interviews for you guys lined up going forward, because it's so much fun having guests on the show. We do have some other things we want to get to tonight. And speaking of YouTuber, and in 7 minutes, we're going to be breaking away and going exclusively to the All Access at shadowdavis.com. So if you're not a member, go and become one now. It's very reasonably priced. Shadowdavis.com, SHADOEDAVIS.com, with improvements coming very, very, very soon, and some giveaways as well. We're ordering some Shadow Davis Show mugs, and we're going to give them away, but that's only for all access members on the website. YouTuber who interviewed Trudeau pushes back after Trudeau's capital gains tax hike defense. You may have seen the video that Trudeau released defending the there's so many taxes with this guy. The capital gains tax increase in this new budget, which, by the way, hasn't been voted on yet still. And it's going from 50 to 67% of somebody's holdings. 50 to 67% of somebody's holdings, which is absolutely amazing. I can't even believe that they're trying to pull this off, and now they're actually trying to defend it. Days after Trudeau promoted this interview of himself with finance YouTuber The Plain Bagel, the host felt compelled to correct the Prime Minister's explainer video after his capital gains tax hike. Trudeau said Monday hang on just a second, you guys. Are we still live? Is everything still going good? I'm going to go back to the comments for a second here because I just had a weird power bump. And I'm not sure if you can see me at this stage. So please let me know if you can. I can see the content that I'm about to share with you. You can still see me? Okay, that's good, because I can't see myself right now, and normally I can't. Not that I like looking at myself, but I just can't. I can't see myself right now because of some weird power surge, so we're just going to keep going with the show. So Trudeau said yesterday, in this video he's posted on X and all other social media, that his tax increase would only affect the wealthiest in Canadian society. The very richest people are going to profit a little less off their assets. Only 0.13% of Canadians, to be exact. These are people who have an average income of $1.4 million a year, and they're mostly in their 60s or older. So that makes them completely expendable, right? Like, who cares if they're in their 60s or older? And by the way, lie, 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 lie. That's exactly what he said in just one paragraph, 3 of them. 2 lies and 1 diss to those who are 60 and older. Instead of taxing people who make $250,000 or more in capital gains for half their income, he will make them pay their fair share by taking 2/3 instead of half. Think about that. You go from 50 to 67% of what you have saved for in capital gains when you finally want to take that out for your retirement. They are taking an extra 17% now of your life, because Trudeau thinks that's the fair thing to do for the younger generations. Richard Coffin, a self-proclaimed finance nerd who runs the Plain Bagel, pointed out a discrepancy in Trudeau's explanation. The YouTuber noted that even the Liberals' budget states the tax will not solely target the top 0.13% of Canadian earners. Yes, this does primarily target wealthier individuals with the $250,000 threshold. And by the way, that's not exactly what it used to be either. $250,000 is comfortable, but it's certainly not wealthy or rich. Anyway, he goes on to say, there are cracks where the middle class can fall through, Coffin said. For one, the 0.13%, according to the budget, is how many people are affected per year, not how many people will ever see an impact. Estate transfers are one area someone outside the 1% could see an impact. Coffin also pointed out Trudeau's figure doesn't include beneficiaries of trusts and corporations who were also captured by the tax increase without the $250,000 threshold. And by the way, that's most doctors who have turned their practices into corporations as recommended by the government 10 years ago to be able to protect their assets when they retired. Well, forget it now, doc. So you're going to see more and more doctors. Doctors are complaining. Large businesses are protesting. They are going to Trudeau and his ministers and saying, this is no good. And it looks like, at least according to Pierre Poilievre, we don't know if this is true or not. Not to say that Pierre is a liar. I'm sure he lies about some things as well. He's a politician after all. But Poilievre seems to feel that Trudeau is going to back down on this capital gains thing. And maybe the capital gains thing was just a red herring to pass through other heinous crap in this budget. Remember, these budgets are hundreds of pages long. This is not the only issue we should be concerned about. But anyway, self-employed individuals who have used corporations for retirement savings will likewise be impacted. Doctors, electricians, plumbers, other individuals who have incorporated so they can do their jobs. So Trudeau, a liar yet again. Oh, look, here he is with Doug Ford in a press conference today. And breaking from Wiretap Media, they say that Trudeau admits why he allowed China to interfere in our democratic process. I've listened to this whole thing, so I'm not going to make you do it. No, that's not exactly what he says. He does say something else, though, when asked about his complete and total unpopularity across the country. Watch.
For the Prime Minister, will Canada follow the U.S. lead and impose tariffs on EVs from China?
Wait a minute, this is the completely wrong video. Where's the video I was talking about? No, that's the Peter McCullough. That's the Canada Post. Oh, that's a good one. We'll get to that story in just a second. LifeSite News has got one from Dr. Trotzy. No. Oh, I just got some. Do you see this? Whoa, I played this 3 or 4 times already today, you guys. Due to a corruption problem? A corruption problem? I've already played this thing a few times today. Which video is this? Is this the one? No, that's the idiot Chris Cuomo. That one is all about the LGBT. There's a great LGBT. Okay, so this power bump has screwed everything up for me here. All of my videos have reset themselves. Okay, well, I'll get it sorted out. Yeah. Whoa. Oh, by the way, Ashley Biden has confirmed that, yes, that was really her diary. And so Snopes, the fact-checking site, they had to go and change what they wrote about Ashley Biden's diary. The one she talks about her father taking inappropriate showers with her. Yeah, that's really true. Because she, Ashley herself, has confirmed that that is, in fact, her diary. So we're going to cover that and a whole bunch more in the extension on shadowdavis.com in just a couple of minutes. Guys, I'm sorry. Weird power bump. Do we have a thunderstorm going on or something outside right now? Weird, strange power surge that happened here that screwed up all my stuff. Anyway, that is it for the show tonight on social media. If you want to keep following the show, we're going to continue on shadowdavis.com in the extension in just a couple of minutes. I hope you enjoyed Elo coming on tonight to have that discussion. I found her very, very cool, very, very warm, welcoming, and knowledgeable, and we'll try to get her back on the show. If you're not going to follow us onto the website, love you all, appreciate you all. Talk to you again tomorrow night, 8 o'clock for another Shadow at Night live stream. For those of you who are members or will become members in the next couple of minutes, I'll see you in 2 minutes on the extension at shadowdavis.com. Back in just a second.